After the last game of the regular season, Daryl Morey pretty much came out and confirmed that the Sixers are going to run it back with the same nucleus of Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George. And I think we're going to hear a lot of trade rumors and ideas floated this offseason because that concept makes it very unsettling for the fan base. Sure, you can get younger around those guys, get better developmental prospects, but people are wondering, are we going to have to go through the same thing that we just went through this season? And today there is a new trade candidate floating around, and I'm going to tell you why I think it is the worst idea ever and why it actually makes no sense from either side. So we'll get into all of it, but welcome into Philly Take with RB. I'm RB. Do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. Appreciate all the support. And today we are looking at a list of KD, AD, and Zion. These are the only players previously to win the Wooden Award as a freshman. Cooper Flagg joins them on this list. So, ladies and gentlemen, set a reminder, May 12th, NBA Draft Lottery livestream. We'll be here reacting. Hopefully the Sixers get their top 6 pick, and hopefully they can land a generational prospect like Cooper Flagg. But I want to look at another guy on this list, because if they don't, they're going to have to figure some things out. And maybe they do just run it back and hope that they can stay healthy, even though I don't think that's a good idea. And the other day I floated around an idea of Kevin Durant, and I think Daryl Morey would definitely be interested in trading for him if he does indeed become available. He pretty much already is. But in the last couple of days on Twitter and IG and other platforms, people are telling me, yo, RB, we need to get Zion Williamson while we can right now. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave it up to you, as I always do. Question of the day. Let me know down below. Should the Sixers in any way, shape, or form go out and try to trade for Zion Williamson this offseason? To me, it's a big fat no. It's a no way. And I know it's going to come off as, I'm just hating and I don't like Zion and he stinks and all this. Well, let me explain, okay? We're first going to look at this report that came out yesterday. Zion Williamson involved in a love triangle dispute, and his BM gets arrested for allegedly assaulting his side chick. Couple other things off the top of my head. Remember when Zion got suspended for a game last year that he missed against the Sixers? There's been other times as well where Zion's been on a podcast and he's being criticized about his weight and this and that. Look, I actually really like Zion Williamson, and he was maybe the highest ranked college prospect of all time. They were comparing him to the greats, coming out of college. And when we look at Zion Williamson, what he has done so far compared to what we thought he would do is not even close. He's only 24. He could have a bright future, but in a season filled with turmoil, and let's just say in the past decade, filled with drama off the court, not living up to expectations on the court, having the weirdest things happen, whether it's involving a side chick getting stalked or, weight problems or reasons that you can't play, all that, and a whole bunch more drama. And the fans want to bring in another guy who literally checks every one of those boxes, who is maybe even worse to a degree in those categories. It doesn't make sense for me. Zion Williamson, the prospect, was supposed to be maybe the best player in the league by now, or at least one of the best players. And he has not been in shape his entire career. He has dealt with injury after injury. He can't play more than 30 or 40 games. And it's just bringing so much drama along. Now, one could say, hey, he's not in a good situation. He always wanted to get drafted to New York, and his agent never got it done, and New Orleans hasn't been good. Maybe, but he has to take some accountability as well. Now, the other day, Joe Dumars had finalized an agreement to become the new president of basketball ops for the Pelicans. He was president of the Pistons from 2000 to 2014. He built the 2004 Detroit championship team, and he also drafted Darko Milicic, by the way, which is maybe one of the worst decisions in history, but he's a former Hall of Famer. He was working for the league, and he has a lot of basketball knowledge, right? So you're telling me that the first move that Joe Dumars is going to make, now that he's back after 10 years? And now that he's back, his first big, magnificent, transcendent move would be to trade Zion Williamson for who? Paul George? Joel Embiid? I just can't see it. I can't see it happening. Now, again, I want to preface this by saying I really do like Zion's game, and if they ever could get him back to the point where, he's an all-star and he's playing consistently, then yeah, I mean, he could be a really good player. I just have a hard time seeing that because now we have 5 years of a track record and it just hasn't happened. It just, quite frankly, has not happened. And again, part of that's on the team and organization, but a lot of it's on him as well for just not being in the right shape and not being mentally and physically ready to go. Like I said, Zion Williamson, a very weird career, 2-time All-Star. I mean, you look at the numbers he's put up from his rookie year, 22.5 points per game, 27, 26, 23, 24.5. I mean, the guy has played pretty well. He's not shooting the 3 ball too well, but rebounds the ball, defends, can facilitate. And that's really what the, I guess, grade on him coming out of college was like, this guy's going to do everything. He can jump out of the gym. Well, maybe he could before, but I actually think the last couple of years, they haven't done too bad of a job. Obviously, they had a lot of injuries and stuff, but, CJ McCollum, who's now going to be 34, DeJounte, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Jordan Hawkins, Vise Misi, like, they actually brought in some nice young players. And also, real quick, shout out to BetUS TV for partnering with this video. Go give them a follow. Check them out for all your daily sports content, news, and coverage. But it all relied on Zion to be the guy. He's supposed to be the all-around superstar, the leader, and he's never been on the court when he's needed to be. Now, in terms of what the Pelicans need to do, going back to Joe Dumars, there's just no way that he trades Zion Williamson and he doesn't get either an all-around superstar piece back or a bunch of draft capital where they can go get one. Because again, you look at this Pelicans roster, which is still pretty young, but they don't have the guy. They need the guy. And Zion's supposed to be the guy, but he hasn't been. And that's like a trickle-down effect, which is why the Pelicans are not living up to standards. And again, this past season was disastrous. Maybe they can draft the right guy here in the top 5, but, what do they do with Zion? Now, I will say that the contract that was put together for Zion is actually brilliant, and learning more about it is pretty crazy. Zion Williamson, right, got paid $36.7 million this past year, and he has 3 years left on his deal. However, all of the years are non-guaranteed, which is why they have been saying the last couple of days there's going to be open and honest conversations with Joe Dumars and Zion Williamson this offseason, because you might have to trade him. You might have to move on now, so that way you don't have to guarantee any more of the years on this deal. And just to understand it a little bit better, if we look at this article here by James Herbert, the Pelicans put in a bunch of clauses where Zion's contract does not become guaranteed unless he does the work himself. And thinking about this more, I'm like, dang, why did the Sixers not do this with Joel Embiid's extension? Well, that's a Sixers thing for you. But anyway, last season, and this is talking about the 22-23 season, I believe, Zion needed to miss fewer than 23 games to avoid his 25, 26, and 27 salaries becoming non-guaranteed, and he missed 53 games. So they put a game clause in there. Then it says if Williamson passes 6 weigh-in checkpoints during the 24-25 season, his body fat percentage and weight must add up to no more than 295. Then 20% of his salary for next season becomes guaranteed. And then if he plays in at least 41 games in 2024-25, another 40% of his salary will become guaranteed. And if we look at the amount of games he played this year, he only played in 30, so that money does not become guaranteed. So the Pelicans pretty much saved their you-know-what by putting all these clauses in here. And I think it's brilliant because Zion could not live up to that mark. But then again, I go back and I think to not this season, but last season where, the Pelicans were in the play-in and, Zion had that 40-point game and then he got hurt at the end and he missed the next one. Brandon Ingram got benched down the end of the game and the Pelicans have just fell apart. Is it time for them to move on? I think so. But there's no way that they bring in Joel Embiid or Paul George to be the guy when those guys aren't even guaranteed to be on the floor and haven't shown much this past season. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, there's no way that this is the first mark that Joe Dumars wants to make with the Pelicans. Kevin O'Connor said recently on his podcast that there's candid conversations going to go on this offseason about his future. Zion, while supremely talented, has a contract filled with non-guaranteed money and game played requirements due to his well-documented injury and weight concerns. So the guy has not been able to stay in shape. The guy has not been able to stay on the court. And if he could, man, I mean, he would be a great fit. You know, I just don't buy it, though. And if you do this, if you're the 76ers, you're just asking for more of the same. You know, I mentioned KD the other day just because I think it's a Daryl Morey type move. But I'll tell you what, KD's proven. He's still a bucket getter. He just needs to stay healthy. That's a guy I would take over Zion 10 times out of 10 because at least KD's been playing. Zion doesn't even play. I mean, if we, again, look at the games played by year, 24, 61, 29, 70, and 30. Both of the years that he's played over 60 games, he's been an all-star, but he's had a lot of weight fluctuations and a lot of off-court stuff, and there's questions about his passion and his interest to be with that franchise. And then you have stuff like this off the court. So, in my opinion, it's an absolute no. The 76ers should not do this, and really the only way to even make it work, I guess, would be if they had an even match Tyrese Maxey contract, or it would be Paul George for Zion, and then Pelicans would have to throw in some more salary, probably like a Kelly Olynyk or a guy like that with a couple years left here. But if the Sixers ever wanted to do something like this, most likely it's going to take Tyrese Maxey or Jared McCain. And to that, I say absolutely no, because even though I do believe in the potential of Zion, just hasn't been there. And I think the Sixers will be going down the same rabbit hole, and they need to get younger. They need to get more athletic, but most importantly, they need guys that are going to play games. And for me, Zion just doesn't fit that mold. So you give me your thoughts down below. Could this be an opportunity to buy cheap on Zion Williamson? Do you think it's worth the investment? Give me all your thoughts down below. And as always, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.